I see Michael Pitts is on. Michael, I'm not sure if he's jumping on at 10, but we'll wait till 10.
No, I'm here.
Okay, so we need at least 2 to start, and it sounds like Nakenya's not or maybe joining us, but maybe late. I thought Shayla was a part of this committee, and that would have made quorum 3, but I got confirmation this morning that she is not. So I'm glad that we have on the agenda item to discuss a standing membership, because I think that's where we can talk about some of these challenges we've been having.
Okay, well, since we know we have a quorum, Nicole, am I set to go here?
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we begin, what I thought I would do here, by the way, our chair is not going to be with us. That is Nakenya. And I thought I'd start this way, first of all, with good morning and welcome. We are the Outreach and Community Engagement Subcommittee of CAB. Our purpose is to assist CAB in gathering and providing information pertaining to the county's efforts in criminal justice reinvestment. Just to highlight some of our responsibilities, they are to identify outreach methods to engage the community regarding initiatives related to public safety alignment, to improve public access to information regarding realignment, to provide membership cultivation.
It's 10 o'clock.
And succession planning for CAB, to nurture CAB's ambassador program, and to organize annual new member orientation. Let's now move to introductions. Committee members first. Michael?
Yeah, hello, I'm Michael Pitts, and I am a CAB member.
Good morning, I'm Crawford Carpenter. I am also a CAB member. Could we now go to staff if we have any on the call? I think Nicole, you're.
Yeah, Melvin, did you want to introduce yourself?
We said, I said committee members first. Melvin.
That's everybody, right? Which
Yes.
is Michael and.
Yes, then we're going to go to staff. And then I'm going to go to members of the public.
Or did you want to do that, or did you want me to handle that?
Well, that's what I was doing. I'm
Oh,
going
okay,
right down the list. Oh, okay. Staff, are you the only staff member? Nicole?
Melvin is staff.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay,
Oh,
well.
he's with the county.
No.
Yeah, I think he was just talking about you, Nicole.
Okay.
ORJ staff.
Yeah, I think I get confused when people say staff, if they mean staff to the committee or staff with the county, but yes, my name's Nicole Popchick. I'm with the Office of Reentry and Justice.
Okay, Melvin, would you be kind enough to introduce yourself?
Yeah, good morning. I'm Melvin Russell. I'm with the probation department.
Okay, so we'll be in trouble. We got to make sure we stay in your good stead. Okay, and next, members of the public. Dale, would you be kind enough to introduce yourself?
Yes, Dale Harrington, applicant for CAB membership.
Thank you. Okay, the next item then, are there any announcements that need to be made? Okay, no announcements being presented to us. Could we go to the next item then on the agenda? Any public comment that could fall under the jurisdiction of this particular subcommittee, but is not on our agenda? Any public comment? Going once, going twice, we'll move to the next agenda item. The next agenda item is approval of the minutes. Would you by chance, could you put those up, Nicole? And I've reviewed them already. I didn't find any problems with them. Michael, do you need a minute or two to look at those?
No, I glanced over them before, and I'm actually driving at this moment, so to keep it safe. Am I on mute?
Okay, fine then. Can we have then a motion for approval of the minutes? Michael, could you give us a motion for the approval of the minutes, hopefully while you're driving there? Nicole, how do we want to handle this? Are there only two of us here with the approval of the ability?
I think that you can make the motion yourself.
Okay, but I'll make the motion, but we'll still need a second if I'm
Yeah.
correct. So
Michael
I'll
will
make,
have to unmute himself and vote when I do roll call.
Yeah, I second, and then we'll do the vote. Yes.
okay, thank you very much, Michael. Are there any questions, discussion regarding that? Okay, may we have the vote? Can you call the vote,
Crawford?
please? Aye.
And Michael?
Aye.
All right, motion carries.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda, I believe, is the cab overview presentation. And Michael, it doesn't look as though you're going to be able to present that.
That is not the case.
Oh, you can't. Oh, great. Pull over.
You guys, you guys.
Is Michael, are you going to the office where do we want to move the agenda item to the end where you could present, or what, how would you like to proceed?
I printed off something, so I'm sitting here. I can do it.
Okay.
Okay, then. Why don't we proceed, Michael? And thank you for kind of stepping in here to do this for us.
All right. Hey, for everybody that's here, this is what we're going to go over right now. This is our PowerPoint that is what we would be taking out into the community. It's kind of our one, either to let people know about CAB, and two, also kind of as a recruiting tool. Want to thank ORJ. I know Nicole put out a kind of a blanket email, kind of inviting folks here. We were trying to figure out a way to maybe kill two birds with one stone. One, work on our product, as well as maybe somebody in the audience would step up. Now, I guess we don't have a lot of public members because like I said, I'm still aching from the fact that Melvin did try to steal somebody from us before. So the fact that he's here, maybe it's a good thing that there's no public people for him to try to snatch from us before we get him on our committee. Appreciate you, Melvin. All right, as I said earlier, my name is Michael Pitts, and this is my third year on CAB. I am the chair at this time, and I actually got on the CAB. I actually worked for one of the agencies under the umbrella, Health Right 360, and was interested. And so started up with membership. So clearly my area of interest has been with reentry and realignment. All right, you can see the next slide, please. So when we talk about realignment, oh man, I have to look closer. So yeah, so AB 109, that's Assembly bill that was passed in 2011, which transferred responsibility of approximately like 40,000 California state prisoners from state control to county supervision. And so what we have listed here is basically the court case. And one of the issues was that the state prisons had a high, they were overcrowded. And so AB 109's intent is to provide counties with incentives to reduce the number of people that they send to state prison. So the legislature reflected a belief and implemented what is evidence-based practices that are better reentry outcomes that can be achieved on the local level of the counties. So example, folks became less disconnected from the communities. The idea that, they're closer, they have family support system and greater familiarity with areas of reentry and opportunities and systems, community support, et cetera, like locally. So, and so, what we know to produce more positive outcomes, the AB 109 legislation demonstrates a preference for community-based corrections and resources on the local jurisdiction level. So the legislation also asserted that there's importance adopting a justice reinvestment, and that was defined by the Vera Institute of Justice as a data-driven approach to corrections policy that seeks to cut spending and to reinvest the savings in practices that have been empirically shown to improve safety and hold offenders accountable, and applying this approach to local confinement and supervision systems. Could you go to the next slide, please? So here's a little bit about the CAB structure of flow. So the CAB is a 15-member board, including 12 voting members and 3 alternate members with representation from across the county and across institutions. So we report directly to and make recommendations and advocate to the Community Corrections Partnership, the CCP. I hope folks can see this. So community correction partnerships are mandated by the state to oversee the AB 109 funding and policy implementation. So the CCP is responsible for preparing the AB 109 operational plan, annual budgets, and policies for approval by the County Board of Supervisors. All right, so the CCP is led by the probation chief, that's the chair, and representatives from Superior Court, DA, Health Services, and the Public Defender, Sheriff Court, and the Sheriff Coroner. And then there's annual rotation of city police departments. I think there's one police department that rotates, a couple that rotate. So the CCP in turn is responsible for making recommendations to the Public Protection Committee, which is made up of 2 board of supervisors, which is currently seated by, is this updated? That's Glover and Anderson, I believe. And the PPC provides the primary interface between the Board of Supervisors and the CCP. So CAB is part of an overall countywide AB 109 partnership between governmental and non-governmental institutions and agencies. Examples, governmental is the Sheriff's Office, probation, Public Defender. Can I next slide, please? So purpose and functions of CAB. So as you see with the bullets here is address the big picture and then advance justice reinvestment. So the CAB has engaged in an annual retreat planning session that began a few years ago. And in our first year and since, we produced these CAB purposes and functions that guide and inform our work. Some years, certain ones are in greater focus than others, but these collectively are the fundamental principles that inform our work. So this is an overarching statement of purpose. It is holistic perspective for all those who are touched by the criminal justice system. So, we want to hold CCP and the Board of Supervisors accountable for justice reinvestment. As defined, we said, it was defined by the Vera Institute as a data-driven approach to corrections policy. And that's to seek to cut spending and reinvest the savings and practices that have been empirically shown to improve safety and hold offenders accountable, and applying their approach to local confinement and supervision systems. And that's the second time I said that, because we feel like it's very important that folks understand what the definition of justice reinvestment is. Can you go to the next slide, please? So another purpose and functions of CAB is policy and budget advocacy. So, we advance policy recommendations to foster these restorative practices, advance ways to reduce use of incarceration locally, will foster expansion of services, and foster compliance and fidelity in program implementation. So serve as a spotlight or watchdog. I think we changed that language to watchdog and spotlight. But again, with spotlight, you kind of have the idea that you're just really trying to illuminate what's out there and you want to look closely at it. So, you know, we are part of our role is to protect and safeguard the AB 109 revenues and investments, serve as a spotlight or watchdog to monitor the distribution of AB 109 funds, question, examine, challenge the budgets, both as reported, proposed, and as spent and reported, and then advocate for better research and evaluation than what we're getting. So one of the things we had really pushed for was more dedicated staff within the Office of Reentry and Justice for research, for example. Can you go to the next slide, please? Another one of our functions is to protect community investments, right? So in that sense, we want to advocate for increased investment in CBOs, protect AB 109 investments in the community, amplify community needs, interests, desires, and goals. And then also we want to gather, provide information and communication. So especially part of this outreach, we want to build strong relationships with the community to educate them on what's happening with AB 109 and also to receive input. We want to improve public access to information on AB 109, maybe easier access to documents, and then influence decision makers to increase transparency, AB 109 budgets, activities, and data. And that's kind of an ongoing, every year, that's been one of the things that CAB is really pushing, is to influence decision makers and about transparency with these AB 109 budgets and money. And we want to influence decision makers to reflect community priorities. Can I get the next slide, please? So here is a slide showing the CAB budget, and I'm having difficulty. Oh, here we go. Thank you. So as you can see, the realignment money has increased slightly every year. I think there was a little dip because of COVID. So we are kind of waiting to hear exactly what our budget's going to look like. But the community-based providers budget is around 5.55 million for the next 3 years. And these funds support community-based agencies that are geared toward working with returning residents and those residents and family members who are justice involved. So be aware that these are not literally CAB dollars, but rather the CAB is an empowered body that makes funding recommendations for the non-governmental agencies serving AB 109 in reentry populations. So funding support is directed to housing, employment, civil legal services, the network and reentry success center, and also mentoring and family reunification. So I think you can go to the next slide, I believe already. So ORJ, Office of Reentry and Justice, CAB created a detailed plan and purpose was to streamline approach and formalize this work. This office now holds all the county AB 109 and reentry contracts. By advocating for this office, CAB also established a strategy to effectively communicate with members of the Board of Supervisors, CCP, and the community. So community charters, see if I'm keeping track of if I'm still on, is this slide 8 right here?
Yes.
Cool, thank you. And there was also community charters, timelines, more formalized, scope of work, defined tasks, more smoothly identified and assigned with policy and budget, outreach and community engagement, and program and services. These are subcommittees of the CAB. And then also we did budget analysis and recommendations for further spending to actual analysis. So a detailed report was presented to CCP and then the PPC regarding the spending patterns of governmental departments using AB 109 funding. and highlighting the discrepancies between approved budgets versus actual spending. This is actually still in process, but the last update was PPC directed the CEO to assess the last 2 years spending versus approved budgets. And so they've also agreed to some flags of overspending and underspending, where if the agency looks like they're not spending their money or they're spending too much of their money at certain cutoffs, that there needs to be an explanation. So, and then also yearly in February, CAB has an annual retreat, which is 2 days. And this retreat is kind of to guide our work. And we have it for 2 days in February, like I said, and that's for onboarding members, choosing officers, and actually try to look at what direction the CAB's work would be in that upcoming year. Next slide. And so this is where we asked if you're interested in how you would get involved with CAB. So CAB meets the second Thursday of every month, 10 to noon, and meetings are held via Zoom until further notice. And these CAB meetings are open to the public. Starting in December, in January, it looks like we'll have 3 voting member vacancies that we'll be looking for. And one thing that we want folks to understand is that you do not need to be a subject matter expert. So I know maybe when I was discussing some of these spending the actuals and talking a little bit of this budget stuff, there are experts through the county. And so you don't need to be a CPA, because I clearly am not. But we do want folks to know that you do not need to be a subject matter expert. But some of the folks that are on our board and we're actively looking for are returning residents, family members, survivors of crime, interested community members, and service providers. So I guess one of the main things is just having the interest in the community, and with the realignment and the reinvestment, and have the time to do that. So yeah, 1 meeting a month, and plus 1 subcommittee a month. So applications are continually accepted. Confidential sections are not public, and we have applications that you can access through the website. So, and here's some of our contact information. Community board, myself, and the vice chair, John Tate Davenport. So if you have any questions or comments, please feel free.
Great job, Michael.
Thank you.
Okay, Michael, thank you so very much. And for those of you that are attending and haven't been at some of our other meetings, we got to tip our hat and really extend a thank you to Michael, because he was the, he's the meat on the bun here. He's the muscle behind getting all of this information together, and we really thank him. And he worked tirelessly to, put this together. So thank you, Michael. I really appreciate it. Any public comment or any other comments prior to moving to the next agenda item?
Hey,
Oh, excuse me. Go ahead. Dale, you had your hand up.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were waiting for Michael. Yeah, thank you, Michael. The alphabet soup was much clearer now because of your PowerPoint presentation. That is so helpful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And I do want to make a comment that actually I'm going to bring to the full CAB, and I appreciate your decorum and professionalism, Crawford will run this meeting. One thing that I realized from a comment and just really looking at it is that our comfort level with our co-workers, I should say, or our co-members have had me kind of policy drift from running the meetings as if every meeting is somebody's first meeting. And so I think it's very important how you really handle that as far as introductions and that. And so as we move forward, I think it's important that we operate with the assumption that whoever's here that's not on our board, that this is their first contact with us and that we need to operate accordingly. So thank you for setting a good example for me to follow at our following meetings, Crawford.
Well, by the way, I picked up the intro from an, RJOB meeting. I think it was Jeff. And I noticed the way he introduced his subcommittee. So I said, I thought we would try it as a trial run if I ever get an opportunity. So thank you, Jeff, from the RJOB. Any other public comment prior to moving to our next agenda item? No public comment being seen. Can we move to the next agenda item, please, Nicole? That's to discuss the CAB talking points. And I think you'll see here, not think, you will see an email that I had sent to the various interested parties regarding some additions to our CAB talking points. And these are just some of the items. We briefly touched on them at our last meeting and looking for inclusion of a reference to mental health as well as employment. We are already discussing, or pardon me, we have already listed housing in the talking points, which is good. But I was trying to make reference to the pillars that we continue to talk about being mental health as well as employment. And I had just asked that we consider putting some reference to those 2 points. In addition, Ozzie Carter had a conversation at her committee. She's the vice chair, I believe, Nicole, that's policy and budget. And they had a discussion about the talking points. And she had asked that we discuss the possibility of adding something regarding disabilities being obvious and not so obvious disabilities into our talking points. So I just wanted to present that. We had hoped that there had been more people here to address it, but I wanted to at least get those items on the table for consideration moving forward. Any comments, Michael?
So it sounds like we're a crowd of 2 here.
Yes.
So, and I know we discussed this in our last subcommittee meeting, and I believe we did come up with something that we kind of want to put in the hopper. And so the process is that these, one, that talking points should be on the agenda for all the subcommittees, and that at this point we need to start putting those in the hopper and decide as a group which those are we going to discuss that may be something that we're I guess say we are backing, you know. So I know there was been discussion about evidence-based. I don't know if that impacts anybody.
So Michael, I just wanted to provide an update. So programs and services on Thursday, unfortunately, was canceled due to quorum issues. And so they were going to talk about this there. I've asked Nicole Green to work offline to whatever input they have to give that to ORJ in time for the September meeting, where we'll be voting on this or approving our talking points. And then the Friday's Policy and Budget Subcommittee, it is on their agenda to talk about this further.
So my thought would be that so the question is this going to be part of our talking points, that it's going to be part of our policy brief, and that we are going to address this as an ask or support from CAB?
Correct, Michael. Correct.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I guess I answered your question with a question. So I don't.
No problem, Michael. We're on as I said, I'm your wingman. So
So that is also an agenda item on the Policy and Budget Subcommittee on Friday, is to discuss how these talking points, as they discuss them, would flow into the policy brief. So hopefully, Michael, you can join that to maybe provide direction if there's any questions.
No, I had planned to do all the subcommittees this week, so I will. So I think, are we voting to move these forward into the hopper, and then we will come out with the recommendation for the full CAB on what may be part of the talking points, as well as the policy brief?
that is correct, Michael. So I'll make the motion to move the points listed in this email dated July 18th, move them forward for the hopper. I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second, and this is for us to move this forward for consideration for talking points and from the whole CAB, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion?
On those lines.
Okay, is there any discussion from the public?
I just had a quick thing, and maybe a consideration or not a consideration. I know sitting on a lot of these different sort of committees throughout the county, one of the common themes that are always talked about, or discussed, is the issue of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And trauma is also sort of across the boards as well. And so I just throw that out there, if that's something that the CAB would like to just have discussion about or to consider, because it's really much in line with talking with the RJOB as well as the JJCC sort of committees and stuff. And so trying to come up with sort of that unified sort of message, I think would be something worth considering, at least.
Melvin, thank you very much for your comment. Now, I'm not sure, I'm not that good on Robert's rules, but I think I like that suggestion, and I would like to add mental health / trauma. If we could add that to the talking point. Now, how do we do this according to Robert's Rules of Order, Nicole?
Yeah. So if I could, Crawford, if I could just respond to what Melvin said. So actually, one of our subcommittees did do a presentation at the last full CAB, specifically on the diversity issue. So I'm expecting that to be something that's going to come out that committee. So I know it was about diversity and about the disabilities, which is actually, I think, on what we were talking about today, some other impairments. That so as far as your second point about specifically, was it about PTSD and trauma?
Yeah, just trying. Yeah, really the folks dealing with just the whole issue of trauma. Just from when they were kids growing up, what they seen in their household, just sort of that overall trauma, and people really being able to understand trauma before they start sort of getting into the treatment aspect.
And just as kind of a historical note, and I guess I can say that now, this is my third year on the cab, is that part of our process too for our policy brief is actually to look back at things that we've actually asked for or supported in the past couple, 3, 5 years. And there are some kind of themes that that maybe we supported kind of in a general idea that may have some more specifics to it, you know, at this point. So I know like evidence-based is something that's thrown in there. Diversity and those are I don't want to call them buzzwords. It seems like that gets diminished when you call it that, but these are some themes that have been in past CAB talking points or policy brief. And so it may be us just revisiting that and maybe making more of a focus on it. So I don't think there's an issue with us adding that on to our recommendation, Crawford, if that's something, because again, this is going into the hopper, and then there's some folks that's going to have to work on kind of refining that product before it gets to the full cab.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Melvin. Let's add trauma then, either as an adjunct to mental health or a separate item. That would be fine. Moving forward.
So we good with that, voting on that then, I think.
Yeah, I'm just making an amendment to the motion.
Thank you. And what I said made sense, right? Because sometimes when I feel like I talk too long, I feel like I'm confusing the issue. So I don't know if that was the case or not.
All is good, Michael.
Okay, all right.
Can you restate the motion, please, Nicole?
So I have here, Crawford, you making a motion. Let me get my notes here. To take these talking point themes to the full cab with the amendment of mental health and trauma as additions.
That is correct. So that would be my motion. Looking for a second, Michael.
You have a second here, Crawford.
Okay, so moved. Are there any further points of discussion from the from board members for the two of us? I guess not. Okay, now any comments from the outside? We want the outside members of the community to have a voice. None being seen nor heard. Thank you very much. The motion passes. May we now move to, Nicole, the next agenda item. That is item number 6 for those of you that have a packet. It's to discuss the outreach, to discuss the recruitment and outreach strategy for West County. And you'll see on your screen that the majority of the voting members are Central County. And we need an enhanced effort in West County. As maybe a starting point, Nicole, you and I worked together on getting legislators, state senator offices, senators' offices, as well as state representatives. Maybe this could be one of our tests. And we do have contact people now for West County. So maybe we should divide the state senators and state representatives to determine which ones handle West County. We can do that, or I can do that. And I would volunteer to call them myself to say, we got a problem here. We have contact people. I've been in touch with them before. You said you would cooperate. Now here's your chance to cooperate. And maybe we can bring them into the circle. Excuse me 1 second. Dale, your hand is up. Would you like to comment?
Yeah, I was wondering also if resources might be all of the city council members in all of the cities in that region. That would be a lot of people who potential sources of information, I would think.
Dale, excellent suggestion. We're trying to take many steps first. Our first step was to see if we could be successful in getting state representatives and state senators. Then, and we needed specific phone numbers, email addresses, and contact individuals. We have met that objective. Our next step then, through our committee efforts here, is to then contact individuals for individual cities. We would have to identify each city. And it's a rather intensive effort because understanding the effort that I went through just contacting the state representatives' offices and the state senators' offices, it'll take time. But I'm willing to put the effort in if we could get one or two other people to assist us. And we would go through the same process. We have a talking point intro. So when you call, we have talking points to ask their assistance, to ask for their guidance, and then we move forward from that point. And Nicole was helpful in putting that together with me. So again, excellent point, Dale. And hopefully you'll join our committee, Dale, now that you mentioned it, and you would be able to take the lead in that with me. So thank you very much, Dale. This is good to see.
Another
Can I
step
just-
was to work with the board of supervisors that we have here within the county that have newsletters that people subscribe to. I know that CAB has done that in the past, and that was on my list of things to do to reach out to Supervisor Joya, I believe it is, for West County.
Okay.
To see what materials, we have a flyer, we might need to do possibly a newsletter, or not a newsletter, press release, and update that to get it over to him so he can distribute that. Because Dale, isn't that how you found out about us, was through Supervisor Candace Anderson?
Yes, it is. Right. She does a superb job in communicating and sending emails out. So that is how I learned about you.
Yeah, and if I just, and the offer has been there from
Yeah.
Joya's office as well. So yeah, Dale, that is something we've considered. And I do want to say again that we really, our effort is to try to get a distribution throughout the county. We were not as successful at that as we would like. However, my belief was it was more important to have a complete board than to have vacancies and then you have some vacancies because we didn't have enough or we had too much representation from Central County. So if you're looking at this slide with the idea that if all these folks are going to return as we expect, there's asterisks down the bottom, but that Dale and Mark would most likely just move up into the to the voting member section because there will be a space. So yeah, but we do, as this outreach, we would like to get some West County people here. And also I'll just throw out, and I'll be quiet, it was that also part of this, I don't want to seem like that person who seems to be blaming a lot of stuff on Zoom, but this is another situation where part of the distribution through the county was also due to meetings and assignments. So of course, you have Reentry Success Center, their committee, you would want somebody from the West, probably that works or lives in the West to, participate in those meetings that were happening in person. So, and also we just want to get that representation from a different area because there may be different thoughts and needs coming from that area. I'll stop now.
Thank you, Michael. Any comments from you, Nicole, before we move to comments from the public at large?
Yeah, my call out is if we are going to tackle getting contacts for each Contra Costa city, that we have a clear direction on what materials they would need besides our flyer or press release. Because if you need to create new deliverables, then that would be good to know I'm interested to see what the call out is or what
Yeah.
the theme is as far as the type of materials they need from us.
Nicole, if I could add, having gone through that process, or we both did before, why don't we see what we have first? And then once we know what we have, then we can see how we want to move forward. Would that be maybe a possible approach?
What do you mean by what we have as far as materials?
Yeah, no, not
Like-
materials. Who are we contacting in West County right now for cities? Are we contacting any cities now in West County?
No.
that-
Nothing is happening out of this office for cities. The direction was to start with the Board of Supervisors. Since we
Okay,
have that connection there and that partnership already.
all right.
If we wanted to take that on, we would need to delegate who was going to take that on.
Okay, well, can you and I work offline on that? And then we can get something together to bring to our next meeting. How's that?
Yep.
Okay, I'll work with you. And, oh, wait a minute, Dale, you raised your hand.
Yeah, my thought is I've had a lot of contact with Mayor Wilk in Walnut Creek. And the thought I have is that when you get to the point of reaching out to the city councils, I bet he would be willing to assist in contacting the mayors of the other cities.
Excellent, Dale. Well, so Dale, are you gonna kind of semi make yourself available to assist us with this effort?
Oh, I would be glad to.
Okay, I got you now, Dale. So that's
I
good.
know. Oh, me and my big mouth.
Yeah, hey, good. Well, keep it up. Just keep opening your mouth, Dale. Okay,
I
Dale.
did have a comment in chat too. Emily Webb had a suggestion of reaching out to the Richmond Youth Council.
Excellent then.
So she provided a link for us, so we can look at that as well.
Fine, fine. Would you care to make a comment, Emily, rather than just chat? I guess not then. Okay,
Hi,
that,
yeah, I was
Please.
just gonna say, I have, my work is specifically in Concord in drug alcohol prevention, but my coworkers work in West County. So I know that they have often been trying to do outreach, and they started the city council meetings. They can, like you're saying, work with the email list of the Board of Supervisors. There's also municipal advisory councils called MAX for El Pacheco, for El Sobrante and Pacheco for other parts of the county. Maybe saying things you already know, but there definitely are lots of, I know, because of my work, I know specifically the youth organizations. The RISE Center would be another one I would go to for people who are committed to justice realignment work.
would you be available maybe to assist us further, Emily, as we kind of walk through this process?
Potentially, I'm mostly just here to listen and learn, but since you were talking about ways to get more people from West County, I'm just happy to drop those suggestions in. I don't know that I have any direct personal contacts that would be that helpful, but if I do, I can pass them along. Mhm.
We're grateful for your comments and thank you, Emily.
Put my email address in the chat, Emily, if you want to email them to me. That would be great. Or you can post it in the chat too.
Sounds good.
Again, thank you, Emily. Any other comments from the public regarding recruitment and outreach strategy for West County? I think we've got some great ideas here that we can move forward with. Any other comments before we move to the next agenda item? None being seen nor heard. May we move to the, can you leave this particular item up, please, Nicole, because this will be apropos to our final agenda item, which is, what is it? Membership status. What is our current status regarding full members and alternative members? And would you like to maybe cover that, or would you like me to cover it, Nicole? How would you like to do it?
Yeah, So the attachment 4 on page 25, it's a summary that, so we have this new standing agenda item that will have kind of reviewing where we're at with membership for each month. Right now we're full body, so that's great. But we are going to have some changes. As you can see, some of the members in red will be terming out come January. And so their last month with us will be December this fall. So that's Michael Pitts, Devon Powers, and Shayla Bonner. Shayla being reducing our West County membership to one person. So that's hence the reason we talked about the previous agenda items, the need to continue to recruit there. So I wanted to talk about this to see like what, and Michael, maybe you can provide some history here of what has been the process of, so we're recruiting for alternates right now because we have a full 12 voting members that are full. But as soon as they get in as alternates, they'll be eligible for those 3 voting member vacancies. So is it just automatically they're the default? How would we want to go about recruiting, getting that press release out there? Would we be recruiting for alternates, assuming that Dale and Mark are going to move up to the voting member seats that are open? So that's kind of the question that I have.
Well, one, I've never been in this situation before. So the fact that, yeah, please. But my thought would be that if they were active members, and if that's what they wanted to do, that they would just we would just roll them in as a voting member. That would be my thought process. And again, I'm not complaining because we have a full board. So these are small little bumps. So there's other bumps that we're trying to figure out here.
Right. And I do think that I want to encourage the standing agenda item is not just to look at like a document like this, but also just to talk about current membership, quorum issues, commitment issues. This is, I think, the standing agenda item to have those conversations, unless I'm mistaken.
Nicole, may I, and Michael, if the two of you don't mind, again, this is a discussion point. Might we also consider, and I know this is a ticklish topic to put on here, but yes, we're going to have our standing agenda item. Is there some way we can put attendance to a meeting, to meetings here, so we can track who is attending? And then maybe we could do it diplomatically. They could see how they are doing. And then somebody may not realize that they haven't been to 2 meetings. And they'll say, oh my goodness, I better get on the ball. And I think if we could add that, at least for our committee, and maybe propose to CAB, the general CAB membership, that they do the same. Because I just noticed we've got too many meetings that are being canceled for lack of quorum. And I just don't think that's fair to the people in the Office of Racial Justice. They do all this work of putting these subcommittee meetings together, and then people don't show up. And then the other people that are trying to join the meetings, we join, and then we find out that there's nobody there, there's no quorum. You try to set time aside. I'd just like to be, more respectful of individuals' time. If that's a better way to put it, is there something we could do there, Nicole?
I mean, I can add this, so I can have additional attachment where we look at, this attachment, but then on an ongoing basis, we look at attendance as well. I will say, just looking at the operating guidelines, I don't think it's as clear, the attendance expectation for subcommittees versus the general full body meeting. I just get the sense that people don't realize that they're a voting member and they make or break quorum. And so there is operating guidelines that speak to if you miss, so I think it's 3 meetings, the general body meeting, that you're eligible for removal. And I know that some subcommittees don't, different bodies, not ours, that don't take attendance for subcommittees, but I've been doing it for everything. So I just wanted to put that out there. I mean, I'd hate for us to have to add another bylaw to make it clearer like that, but I was hoping that it would just be, you know, maybe at the retreat or a conversation or reminder in the general meeting, but I'm getting the sense from members that they don't understand the importance of showing up.
Well, why don't we do it then on our subcommittee as a heads up? How's that? Just give everybody a heads up. And
Yeah,
just
we can
see where-
report out on that.
Yeah, just see where
A
it goes.
reminder.
Yeah, and again, you know, we don't want to run people away. We want to bring them in. We want to put our
Right,
arm.
and I think that there was some confusion that people had to only commit to one subcommittee. I know that there was a couple members that were confused about whether or not they had to do more than one. And if that's causing a concern, we don't want people to feel burdened that they have to be on all three, and then they're not showing up because they can't. Just a reminder that it's only one that they need to be committed to. But of course, they're welcome to join all three, but they would be joining as a committed voting member.
Correct.
And it's,
Well,
yeah. The numbers keep moving, it changes quorum, and that's a challenge for ORJ to hold people accountable, because I'll just use this meeting as an example. As of this morning, this committee was known to be 4 people. Well, I come to find out right before the meeting that it's actually 3. So that changes quorum. So those kind of things just need to be brought to the full body's attention.
right. So I don't want this subcommittee to be in the position where they're like the person who's taking attendance, and that we're looking at that. So I'll just throw out my opinion on that one. I'll prefer not to. So one thing that's an advantage of you folks that are here that are going to continue past the end of this year, that you get to see what mistakes we made and make sure that those aren't repeated. And so here I go back to, you know, hey, just how things were before. So like attendance, for instance, there is a form that would come around with your name on it and you would initial. So there's 12 squares for 12 meetings, and that there's a record of attendance that way, you know? And so for the full board, as I mentioned in the last meeting, hey, you know what? Didn't really think about it, because we were scrambling for quorum for the full cab in the past. That's not so. I agree that we need to do a better job of letting folks know.
Well, and is the Outlook invite not enough? Does there need to be another reminder before? I don't want to set us up for having to do unnecessary courtesy reminders. But there is a process to get notifications of when the agendas are posted.
All right. So my opinion is, so most of the people who are on subcommittees were part of the planning of the subcommittee and when the subcommittee met. So right then there was this decision, hey, we're the third Friday of the month. So one, that was already decided. I feel like ORJ, you're doing a great job of putting stuff out. You can just put it on your calendar. We're getting all the reminders. So I want there to be quorum, but on the other hand, man, goodness. I mean, I don't know how much more we're supposed to do.
That's why I was asking the full body if we should vote them into the subcommittees, so it's kind of more official and it's more like, oh, they're voting me in. I don't know if that has a stronger impact, but I think that we voted folks in when we did it on the retreat. I can't remember. I know we did vote the chairs, of course, the officers for the full body, but I can't remember if we voted on it.
I think we came back from the breakout sessions where folks had determined who was doing what. and had their first meetings scheduled. So I don't, that
Okay.
part, I think it's just more of, I guess what I'm saying is, I don't think it's something for ORJ or us to look at what we're not doing as far as notifying people. I think it's just that folks should know, and we just need to, I mean, I'm sure it's not every committee either. So it may be more of an individual thing than issue on how to putting the information out.
And
I
I
feel
think
like
it's as simple as, you know, if there's 2 times that they don't show up, at that point, ORJ reaches out if it's, you know, consecutive absences. And that's kind of the standard for the full body. I haven't been doing that for the subcommittees. But for the full body, we have.
Yeah. And even with the subcommittees, I mean, there's flexibility. I know, I think policy and budget, they had a conflict, and they just rescheduled their subcommittee meeting. So
We did, but there's a lot of work from ORJ to make that happen. I have to make sure that there's quorum to justify that reschedule. It basically becomes a special meeting, right? But like, for instance, for this Friday for policy and budget, we've invited our CBOs to join, and we have 2. Like, I want to make sure we have quorum, so when people come to present from the community, it's not canceled.
right. Well, I guess the thing would be that going forward, we just need to make sure folks understand that the default is that you're going to be there, and if you're not,
It's
you need
11 o'clock.
you need to let folks know, and with some time. I mean, emergencies happen. I get that,
Yeah.
but the
They
default.
need to let ORJ know, and they can CC you or whoever the chair is of the subcommittee, because we need to see the full picture.
Right.
And that would be the recommendation, is that they let at least ORJ know.
And that's something we'll move forward to our next full cab. I figure we're already to our 9th meeting of the year. But the idea that if you're not attending, the default is that you're attending your subcommittee and the full cab. So the expectation is that you're going to be there. And if you're not, then that's when you need to let us know.
I think you announced that last cab, but maybe it just needs to be reiterated each time. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think you said something like this last cab, full body, but maybe
maybe I'll just say it everyone from here on out until somebody else.
Especially these coming months, because there's a lot of deliverables that this
Yes.
committee has.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I put in the request to full cab to present the talking points to full cab. But also a reminder to run each meeting as the community's first meeting. And then a reminder for, if you're going to be absent, to let ORJ know.
Fine. And can we put another thing there? You know, Michael, you made a good point of making the announcement, for example, at the CAB meeting. Now we're at the general CAB meeting. We're at the subcommittee basis right now. Maybe we could make that announcement in lieu of attendance, of just stressing the importance. So our chair could make that announcement at the beginning of our meetings. How's that? Would that be something that would be helpful?
What do you mean, why we're here or who we are?
Oh, no, not that part. No, I'm talking about attending for our committee.
Oh yeah, no.
We could-
I'm here it up. Yeah.
What you broke up there, Michael. Could you repeat that, please?
Yeah, I intend to address it.
Yeah, no, I understand that on the general CAB meeting. I'm talking about subcommittees. Should our subcommittee make a comparable statement that you are making for the full CAB?
Yeah, and again, we only have one other one this week, so I plan to attend that one. So we can get that out to them, and then
Okay.
to the full CAB. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. Is there a statement that you think would be appropriate? Should you and I just work a statement together, at least for our committee, Nicole? that in the future Kenya can present, or whoever subs for her?
Well, I don't know if we need to even wait for that. I mean, that could just be part of our record here that, we're discussing staffing and not, I'm sorry, use that word. I mean, we're membership, board membership. And then, what we want to move forward to the full cab is that we want to reiterate the importance of attendance so that we can meet quorum, and that we're submitting that attendance should be the default. And if someone can't make it, they need to notify, the chair or I mean, so we can move that forward to the full cab.
Fine. Okay.
Because I feel like it fits under this umbrella that we are talking about, membership status. That's what we're talking about. So I think for us to things for the full cab to consider, that's what we're going to have in that section going forward.
Okay. Understand.
And just for, I feel like this is related, but just like planning agendas in general, I know that ORJ is looking to do a recurring kind of planning. At least we have one within our office to talk about the agendas that are planned for the next month. And that recurring meeting would be not a public meeting. We just need to get confirmation from council that is allowed. I believe it is, but there's just been some things have come up as far as members meeting outside of public meetings and that being an issue. So, but I know that there are some other committees that they meet with the chair of the full body and then the chair of each subcommittee meeting with staff to just kind of go over at the end of the month to talk about the next month. I feel like that there's some communication opportunities just between the different subcommittees, and hoping that might be part of a solution. I know that doesn't necessarily impact quorum, but it's more about just planning. Because there's a lot of coordination and deliverables that are shared between the different subcommittees. And if they don't ever talk, it gets a little challenging to coordinate that.
Right.
So
It is a challenge.
So more to come on when that will start, hopefully next, the end of this month, but we'll follow up on that.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Michael. Let's move forward here. Are there any other public comments on our standing agenda item for membership status? And what's our current status regarding full members and alternative members? Is there any public comment before we move to next steps? Any public comment?
The only thing that I would offer is for you guys just to know that this isn't unique to the CAB. I think there's other committees on the RJOB and the JJCC that are having difficulty meeting quorum and having people, show up when they're supposed to show up and not showing up and not notifying folks. And yes, as a member of the public, or when you're setting aside sort of a time block to join a meeting, and because everything now is done Zoom, there's so many different meetings that you could actually be on, and so trying to make it a priority and really stressing that it really goes a long way. Because I know for myself, when I jump on and say we wait 15 minutes and something is canceled, that takes me away from another meeting that I could have been on and participating. But like I said, I know it doesn't help in this sense, but this is not a unique situation just to the CAB. I see it throughout all of the sort of subcommittees that folks are having a difficult time for whatever reason.
Right. Well, the reason I brought up the planning meeting was because I've had meetings canceled on other committees that it wasn't because of quorum, but we didn't get the presenters' materials in time. So that's a planning issue. And so hoping that, with that, we can get ahead of what work needs to be done to get us to that agenda packet posting in time for the meeting.
Okay, any other comments from those in the public? With none being heard, let's move to the next agenda item, item number 8, next steps. Where are we on next steps there, Nicole?
So So this is kind of a placeholder recurring agenda item to discuss basically the agenda items for the next month. And since talking points are being brought to the full body in September, the only really agenda items I have would be any membership opportunities that are presented for applications to be reviewed, or which we don't have any at this point. Or the standing agenda item for membership status, which would be us coming back to the table with updates on our progress.
May I add one item? I think those are good. Why don't we have an update on our progress for identifying cities and city contacts, be it mayors or city council members, et cetera? Because I believe you and I are going to work on that offline, Nicole.
And then for the ambassador programs, Michael, is there any really follow-ups at this point to get the full body ready for that we would need to agendize?
That would just be the talking points. We've already, that would just be the, once we determine what the talking points are gonna be. We've already determined who was assigned to whom, and then it would be to put out to send out the letter, the form letter that we want everybody to use.
That would be all done offline.
I know the letter was before. I don't think that came through a meeting, that template.
So from what I'm hearing, really the only item would be just ongoing membership initiatives.
Right now, unless there was something else that came up.
And you guys don't look at the policy brief individually within this committee that would be brought, that's policy and budget, and they would be bringing that back to the full body, right?
Yeah, and then so the stuff that's getting forwarded into as far as the talking point and some kind of themes, and that may go into, it's kind of a two-way street. Some things may come to them to see what this might be, and then also there may be some things there that go to the members as talking points. So and did they reschedule or no?
I'm sorry, who
You said
scheduled?
Budget. That's what I'm calling you.
Programs and services?
Programs.
No.
Yeah.
They're meeting
Okay.
offline on their own.
Oh,
The member, there's only two.
Oh.
Well, not only two, but the chair is going to meet with the vice chair.
Okay, are we set then now on?
Okay, so I'm Crawford then the idea.
What was that, Michael?
I was saying, unless I missed something, Crawford.
Okay.
So as we go forward, if something that we need to add to the agenda, then we need to get that process done with plenty of time, for posting it and all that.
Correct, yeah.
Who would be doing the report out for the September 9th full body? Would we just default to Kenya, or would someone want to volunteer since she wasn't here?
I'll volunteer to do it. That's no problem.
All right.
Okay, are there, are we done now with next steps? I think so, but want to make sure. Okay,
I
good.
think so.
Okay, we're done with next steps. Okay, prior to a motion to adjourn, let me give the public, is there anybody in the public who would like to make a comment that's apropos to our committee? You have one last chance. None being heard nor seen. I'll make a motion to adjourn, adjourn, and it's 11:12 a.m. on the 17th.
Thank you.
And thank you all for attending.